And someone's doing another random discussion thing, fancy edits. And why is my microphone so far back? Just noticed. That's better, I think. I hope so. So recently, I was made aware of something really weird, and I've covered the story just to be safe. I went out to meet some people, and I just asked them like what they're doing, how their day is, and they mentioned that they're going horse riding. And this is a vegan, by the way. Weird. But yeah, like this ethical vegan, and not. I can't ask why because I'm fucking shy. It's kind of scared. As I usually am in social situations, but they explained that the horses need it, basically. Which, in my head, didn't sound right. Because you could say the same about chickens, like they need to lay eggs, or maybe cows need to give milk. It makes no sense, and also it sounds like, I don't know what you call it, horse industry propaganda. Basically anything where you can use a living being, you're just making up something. And that's what it sounds like. So I did some research and also asked around. It turns out that was true. That was actually fucking bullshit. No surprise, really. Like, whenever it comes to animals, it's pretty much human supremacy. There's no other way of putting it. I'm sure that needs to do the rest of the video actually, because I've just said that, but I think I'll explain how I realised those things. I think one of the most terrifying things about animal exploitation is what animals can't tell us, and yeah, if you look at it through their eyes, that's bloody fucking scary. Like, there's no two ways about it, to be honest. Like, it is scary. You don't know why people are doing those things to you, and it's harmful. Just mentally more than it is physically, and I think people forget that. Like, if you can ethically say, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe you're trying to ethically get, say, someone in a wheelchair to carry out a job for you. This person in the wheelchair also has learning difficulties, and you're trying to get them to, say, carry a plate of food, no, maybe a plate of drinks, without spilling it. It's not a good idea to do because they could spill it, but the point is that they can't necessarily be aware of why you can't spill it. So it is exploitative. And then my mind's just blanked. Maybe that's the wrong example. I was thinking of something like sex, but yeah, that's again hard to explain. The point is that it's a vulnerable individual and you could be hurting them. Like, maybe the person who's serving the drinks could be severely impacted by negativity. Basically, just being told that they've done a bad job when they clearly can't help it, that sort of thing. In a similar way, that's sort of what's happening to animals. But they may not even be aware of it. They also definitely can't tell you all the time. That's fucking terrifying again. So I discussed this with other vegans to make sure I wasn't crazy, because maybe there could be a reason why you could ride horses. Maybe it is natural. And if you even thought about it logically, the equipment you put on horses isn't natural. And you'd never find a caveman riding a horse, as far as I know. I find him riding other cavemen. Thought that's hot. I mean, yeah. But you won't find that in nature. That's the thing. You don't see other animals riding other animals. Just for the purpose of moving around. There's not the sexual riding. It's just a different thing. And it just gets you thinking, really. How much are we actually missing about animals? And then someone brought up a very interesting point, which is the point of this video, and it is sort of human supremacy anyway. That's basically what the argument is, but it's also just this fact that this animal is being used for a human benefit. Just in general. I wanted to try to find the post because I'm fucking losing it. Yeah, so basically you're conditioning animals to tolerate an unnatural situation, and that's for a human benefit. Often entirely for human benefit. And it's very universal, but also, I think, is it a question-begging fallacy as well? Well, in a good way, though, I think. Yeah, it always begs a question, because there is good and bad elements to that. For example, we put dogs into domestic situations, so they can live out their best life. But unfortunately, other people don't do that. They put them in this situation to get like temporary joy, like buy a puppy, see them grow, and then get rid of them because the puppy was cute, but the adult dog was not. That sort of thing. And that's no similar, really, to all these other things. Like horse riding is no similar to that. Farming chickens or backyard hens, even for that matter, no similar to that. You're discarding animals and picking and choosing based on what they give you, which is so fucking selfish, especially for animals, because they can't consent. And that's the thing that gets me every time as well. You think about everything we do to animals that is usually not in their best benefit. Yeah, scrambling again. Things that you're doing that are not for their benefit are harmful. Things that you do for their benefit and which isn't consensual is good. So I think of things like bestiality, like that, I don't think is very good for them. Because they can't tell us, and it's again using them unnaturally for a human benefit. It's exploitative as well. Well, it may be hot, it may be interesting, you may be curious, but at the same time, that's like doing it with a child. The child could enjoy it, who knows, but it's going to be harmful overall for them, depending on what it is, of course. You know, like, I fucking hate to bring out because it's a very dodgy topic. But there are definitely people who, at a young age, can enjoy sexual encounters with older people, but it depends on who it's with, I think. There's been testimonies about it, I won't go into it fully, but again, it's similar to how you treat animals, and it could be hit or miss, but the point is, consent is there, and it isn't there when you can't read an animal, because animals do it for natural reasons. They do it to breed, and we don't necessarily know if it makes them feel good. Because if we did know, sure, I don't see any problem with bestiality. As far as I know, it could be, or we know, I mean, it could be for survival reason. Maybe it's causing their hearts to pound because they think, oh yeah, mate, let's do it. You need to have my babies, and I think that's harmful. I don't know what symbiosis is, I forgot. People bring that up a lot as well. Again, horse riding isn't vegan, and it just makes me wonder why people aren't vegan. Some of these things are so obvious that I genuinely can't believe that myself, as someone with global learning delays, apparently, can happen to figure these things out. It just makes no sense. But I'm viewed as dumb by fucking many people who disagree with me usually. That's the thing. It's usually the people who disagree with me, not the people who actually agree with me. Or just find me interesting. Because I've been called smart many times, and I don't believe in the concept of smart or stupid. Generally, it's for insults and compliments, but it's harmful because they all have opposites. You say someone's stupid to feel good about yourself, and you say someone's smart because you either feel bad about yourself or want others to feel bad. So I don't really like compliments like that. I prefer labels that describe me better, like kind, if that's the label I have. I can't decide. I just think that's really important to bring up. Everyone has the capacity for change. There's a fucking post on LGBT Reddit of a former bigot offering out hugs because he was a bigot. That's brave, but also I think that's just badass. It's so cool. It shows that there's a capacity to change and there is compassion there. And another thing I have to bring up is because people might be watching this as non-vegans or anti-LGBT plus or ableist, racist, you name it. I think the biggest enemy of change is close-mindedness. And there was another thing I was going to say, but I forgot. That's what I was originally going to say. But I can't remember. I might comment it if I do. That's a bit frustrating. Damn. There's a lot of life advice I've come to realise. My social isolation. And it's just complicated sometimes in life when you can't figure out things. I'm looking for a cutthroat solution for many things. And I've done it for a lot of different things and even help people with it. Because I actually fucking care, where, like, say, with mental health, a therapist won't care because they're just doing it for the money, usually, and they might do it because they do enjoy it, but they're doing it according to a set of rules, and that, I think, is very fucking slippery. And very scummy as well, because it shouldn't be like that. I've struggled in therapy for years, and I've decided I just don't want it anymore. You can only show you care when you understand the person you're talking to, and likewise with animal rights, you can only understand when you understand what the animal's going through and what they can be going through. I think that's all I've got to say, really. I should have been making a thumbnail during this crap. Sometimes they take time to make. I don't know why. Yeah, that's all I have to talk about, really. Hopefully you do have the capacity to change, because I think it's brave. It's also, I consider it a masculine trait, because, yeah, that's the thing I was going to say. Basically, it's a strength to show emotion, because it shows you're human and that you care. Not one of these selfish fucking people who takes and takes and doesn't give back. That's one of the things I have to remind myself when I think I'm useless. There are people who do much worse things than I do. Not that I'm doing worse things or bad things even. I'm just thinking about how I contribute to serves a greater good. Yeah, greater good. And I'm also doing more than the average person, that's for certain. I plan on doing much more, so I can basically balance out the fucking terrible things in the world. So I can eliminate them. I want to do volunteer work. I want to help people more. Like I might know a trans guy in real life actually. Because I think I won't go into many details about it, but this is actually the first time I've met a trans person. And I think that's very special for me because they haven't actually properly transitioned yet. I think they're in the process of doing it. And I just think that's going to be a very beautiful thing to see. It's going to be wholesome, it's going to be quite emotional as well. I imagine it is for their family, but just thinking about it, I think there's a lot to it that's going to be quite enjoyable in the end. Just see someone become their true self. And they might also become a kind and caring person after that. Just one of those things where I think compassion and kindness is a beautiful thing, especially if you're doing it. I think only if you're doing it for the sake of it, not so you can benefit from it. Say like, got people like girlfriends or whatever. Just goes to show really. Kindness goes a long way, as people say. So certainly like these two other things. Because I've seen so much kindness in my life recently, I've felt like I need to do it more. Fortunately, my money situation is never good, so that's stopping that a bit, but I think because I'm open to volunteer work, I'd be happy with that anyway. And it doesn't just have to be kindness in that sake, it could be just helping people I know do little things. Like I currently cook for someone, partially, because he's not always eating, I mean, I try to help. So yeah, just go vegan, fuck's sake. I can't remember the other thing, Christ. I don't know how I forgot it, because it's so obvious. Basically want to have a clickbait title. I'll be transparent about that. So again, it ties into that thing I said earlier about it being for the human benefit. People no longer stay vegan because there's a human benefit, and I think, that's the other thing as well. Come back, It's also when people hold these positions that they obviously can't hold. And this is where a process of that I've learned through debating comes in, called dismantling. And you need to dismantle those positions and beliefs if you really want to get somewhere. That's how I've given up my biases pretty much. It's helped me brilliantly as well in life in general, and helping others. Because when you dismantle certain positions, you become a better person for it. And you have to dismantle people who you disagree with, because if they're not open to change, then that's bad, obviously. I have had to come out as a cisgender man, well, not again, but I guess again, yeah, because technically it's the second time. And my first time was when I was born. That's kind of funny to think about, but I used to be non-binary, for example. And that was based on how I viewed gender roles, which I later realised was sexist. And yeah, I can't tolerate that really. I'm not sexist. Basically, anyone can be whoever they want as a gender. Like, cooking isn't a woman's job. Being in the military isn't a man's job. It's anyone's now. And I just realised that And I wish I realised it sooner, so I could have stopped damaging myself and possibly others. And I wish people would point it out as well, like, I don't think every non-binary person is invalid just because I think it's sexist. Like, there could be different reasons. You could see your true self, for example, in being non-binary, like maybe like gender neutrality. Or maybe you're gender fluid, where you feel like you could be both. Like, it depends. And if you're agender, like, I don't know what you'd do. But it's all valid so long as the reasoning is there and it isn't harming others. Because with me being non-binary, I actually thought I was harming others because of the sexist view. That changes everything, really. No doubt about it. But with how people stick to carnism, it depends on how they dismantle their own position, or others will try to dismantle it. Like, there's a saying that rules are made to be broken. I think that's generally true. Not always, but it can be. With regards to how people hold their positions against vegans, it's usually a set of rules that says, I can't agree with them, I can't give them any leeway, and I can't change because I benefit from this trivial sensory pleasure. That sort of thing. Because with horse riding again, the only reason you'd do it, even when it's unnatural, is so you can benefit from it. And that's wrong in the context of animals because they can't consent. They can't necessarily ask you to get off. That's why it's important to discuss topics like this. Because you never know. And I definitely didn't know about animal rights like how long ago. Let's say 12 years ago, yeah. Wouldn't have known about it. Wouldn't have cared. But after hearing Gary Rofsky's speech and obviously my sudden realisation in 2020, I had to change. I realised I couldn't keep up with that. It was just mental gymnastics for the sake of a fucking bit of milk in chocolate. It makes no sense why I'd justify that. That's the thing again. You have to justify your position. Not mine, you have to justify your own. And that's the thing I don't get about non-vegans, really. You dismantle their position, and when you do that, they just can't justify it. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. There's a cyst on my chest, great. A pimple, not a cyst. It becomes really hard to justify that thing, because as a vegan, I've also tried to justify eating animal products again. And I found nothing. Like, you can't justify it. Fundamentally, something has to happen to get it, and something harmful has to happen. And you can't ensure it. And it's still exploitative. It still does unknown things. Which is the scary thing, it's the fear of the unknown. I think that's what you need to become a stronger person. You need to dismantle your own positions, and I think I forgot to explain it with the problem solving, but I'm looking for such quick solutions. It frustrates me when I can't find them, and with animal rights, I found the solutions. It's become so bleeding obvious. And the more I think about it, the more obvious it gets. And similar things happen with other topics. But I've also become depressed because of things I can't realise quick or find an answer to. Like, I'm still a virgin and I can't find an answer to that, really. About how to lose my virginity, but I'll keep trying. That's another important thing to do. Yeah, I think that's everything I had to talk about. Admitting where you're wrong is important as well. Like, again, I used to be transphobic once. I used to think guys would transition into girls so they can rape people. If you do the research, that's not real. And if you ask people who've known other trans people, like just cisgender people, not even LGBTQ, yeah, plus affiliated, they'll tell you they're fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with them. Just an assumption based on completely cherry picked and obviously very rare situations and anecdotes, maybe. Basically, it's just very rare, not at all common. And I think that's the only way you should be concerned is when it does become common. And people who do it obviously are giving a bad name because there are people who actually struggle with their identity. Like, trans women do feel uncomfortable about their genitalia, for example. They might not get bottom surgery, they might, but I think those who don't end up being really uncomfortable about being recognised by it. And it's really nobody's business, like, whether they have it or not. It doesn't fucking matter. People can be immoral. That's just it, really. People can be immoral, it doesn't matter who you are. You could be fucking Gandhi. You could be anyone. You could be Earthling Ed. You could be immoral still. It doesn't matter.